Okay, greetings to you. This is me bringing to you a short training, maybe short, but this training is focused on the ESG services of Richflood, and this training is for in-house consumption. But just a single minute, let me see how to share my screen for your viewing. So the essence of this presentation is to bring you up to speed, on ESG reporting services that we offer at Richflood and the research requirement that you will be needing in order to meet up with the demand from our clients. So on my screen now is showing the sustainability reporting page at richflood.com. And I believe you have access to this page. It's a public page. Let me just zoom it out a bit. And I believe you have studied, most especially the technical department staff. I believe you have accessed this page and you have studied the I'm sorry, this is still transmitting. This is a client that just called me. Let me try to put this on silence. Okay. All right, so I believe you must have gotten access to this PwC research document and studied it, but that's not the focus for today. The focus for today is to take us through the framework for ESG reporting, And as you know, we have many frameworks for ESG reporting, but for today, I will be focusing on the GRI standard. That is the Global Reporting Initiative standard, the GRI. You know also generally that the challenge we have with ESG reporting is the lack of standardization. Because many organizations use multiple ESG reporting frameworks. So when it gets to the end user or the stakeholders, there's a little confusion as to understanding what message is being communicated and the simplicity of it. So the disclosure is a bit not understood by many stakeholders and has no clear system set in place for this reporting. And quite frankly, without standardization or without the standardized measurement system, the quality of data and assessments can easily be compromised. So the reporting framework and standards that is widely acceptable and identified in the United Nations Sustainable Stock Exchange, that's SSE ESG Guidance Database, is GRI. GRI is one of the frameworks and standards that is widely recognized. But let me just share my page. I have other standards that is also recognized by the SSE. That's the Sustainable Stock Exchange Initiative Guardians database. They have recognized also other reporting frameworks. Let me just find my slide 1 second. Okay, here we go. Yes. So this reporting frameworks, as you can see on the screen, you have the GRI, the one I'll be focusing on today. And then you have the SASB, that is Sustainability Accounting Standards Board. You have the IIRC, International Integrated Reporting Council. These are frameworks and standards that is recognized by the SSE, the UN SSE. And then we have the TCFD, Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, and the CDP, and also, we have the Climate Disclosure Standards Board. And of course, the UN Guiding Principles Reporting Framework. So these are the frameworks and standards that is widely acceptable and recognized. I intentionally put the GRI as the number one because that happens to be the focus for the presentation I'm going to be doing. And this is just a guide for the staff. Please, you have a lot of research to do, most especially checking on the different sector standards. For this presentation, I will be looking at the oil and gas sector standard. I'll be giving us an overview of the oil and gas sector standard. If I go quickly back to the web page, where is it? You would see the different sectors. I'm trying to find that. You will see the different sectors that have been listed having the GRI standards. 1 second, please. Let me go back to the web page, sustainability reporting page of Richflood. That's where I want to go. So you would see that there are different sectors. Here you go. Down, you scroll down, you have to scroll down. Here you say the GRI standards represent global best practices for reporting publicly on a range of economic, environmental, and social impacts. Sustainability reporting based on the standards, the GRI standards, provides information about an organization's positive or negative contributions to sustainable development. So this link here will take you to the consolidated set of GRI standards. The GRI standards, the set of the standards, which comprises of all these sectorial standards that you're seeing here. My interest today is GRI 11, that's oil and gas sector. But there are other GRI standards, including energy, materials, where's coal, water and effluent is here, biodiversity is here, GRI 304, biodiversity, GRI 305, emissions, 2016, GRI 306, effluent and waste, 2016, waste 2020, supplier environmental assessment, occupational health and safety, training and education, child labor, 408, GRI 408. I hope you can see my screen okay. Forced or compulsory labor, GRI 409. So these are very interesting standards that this is the coal sector, GRI 12, the coal sector GRI. And if you come over here, you would see rights of indigenous peoples, 411, GRI 411. Local communities, I'm emphasizing on the GRI that is closely related to the services that we offer at Richflood so that we can study it. Please download the file over here. It's just, it's less than 25 MB. It's over 600 pages, but it is bookmarked. It's bookmarked for easy navigation from the table of content. You can easily see this list and pick the one you want to specifically attend to. So that is the link there. Please, you have to study these materials and use it as further training materials at the office. The daily training program that takes place, you need to use it. Use this page in the next few weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. You need to use it for training purposes. This is important. That is why I am giving the overview for the usage of it. So we have to encourage our clients, we have to encourage organizations to choose the framework that best fits their reporting. But how do you encourage an organization if you do not have the full knowledge of what is required in terms of the data management, the data collection, what data is being imputed into the software that we are providing for our clients. You need to have sector knowledge of each standard so that the materiality for each of it is well known to you. All right. So ESG reporting was not mandatory before now. It was not fully mandatory, but as time goes on, I'm beginning to see that it will become a mandatory requirement for companies to announce their sustainability goals and translate those goals into actionable plans across the activities or the operations of their organization. Not only will they track their sustainability activities, but also they have to be accountable for their impact and their future goals. So it's our role in Richflood to make sure we provide appropriate guidance for our clients on reporting and also on reducing carbon emissions by creating safe working conditions for employees or establishing strong risk management and the board structure. I'll do another course on governance for us to see how board structures, aid to good governance, is an aid to good governance or otherwise. So we have to encourage companies and our clients to make continuous and attainable progress in reporting ESG. We have to start with our category 1 clients so that they can, appreciate this service and also see the usefulness of it. Because with these sustainability reports, organizations can capture and examine their ESG data in a very broad range of matrices that is available in the softwares. As you know, we already have discussions ongoing with software companies, that are using GRI standard and also incorporating other frameworks, the reporting frameworks that I shared with you earlier. They're incorporating it in their softwares and we are collaborating with them. So, but I need us to understand the materiality of each of these standards, most especially for today. We are looking at the oil and gas sector, excuse me. So I would move on now. Let me share back my screen. Okay, before I share my screen, let me go back to this. Before I change the screen share, rather, this is the documents. When you click this link, consolidated set of GRI standards, this document will show up. And for today, like I said, we are going to be looking at GR11. That is this one. So if I click it, so I'm also going to drop this link at the base of this PowerPoint presentation. So we are going to summarily go through the materiality, the content, what we are measuring for the oil and gas sector. Let me go back to my slide. Yeah. For the oil and gas sector standard, I believe you understood when I said there are different sectors and there are different standards. So because what I'm seeing is that there are some reporting frameworks or reporting software that we have to customize for the client because of the peculiarity of the sector. So most of these software solution providers just have a generic platform. We may have to work with them in order to customize based on the materiality of the sector and what is required. All right. So the likely material topic for the oil and gas is quite many. We have, I think, over 20 for the likely material topics for the oil and gas sector. And each topic actually describes the sector's most significant impacts related to the topic and related to the disclosures that have been identified as relevant for the reporting on the oil and gas organizations or oil and gas operations or projects, even proposed projects. So the organization or the proponents will be required to review each topic. By extension, Richflood, being consultants to the proponents, will need to review each topic in this section and determine whether it is a material topic for that particular client. And then we determine what information to report for the material topic. So the first topic that we have here is GHG emissions. GHG emissions, greenhouse gases emissions, which is majorly emissions that contribute to climate change, such as carbon dioxide, methane, and scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 emissions. Please look for relevant trainings on scope 1, 2, 3 emissions if you do not already have full detail about it. So generally, to have to look at direct and indirect emissions for the sector, and both emissions that occur upstream and emissions that occurs downstream. In other words, all the activities of the oil and gas organization will be involved in the checking of the GHG emissions. So you will have in the document the GHG emissions description of the materiality, the direct, the indirect, the scopes, all of the information that you need under the GHG emission, the flaring, the gas flaring aspect of things, and the venting. You will take a look at it and have an in-depth understanding on how to report on GHG emissions. Get hold of this material so that by the time, if you do not already have exposure to the software, by the time you have the exposure to the software, you will understand what precisely is being reported on GHG emissions, what subtopics are under the GHG emissions, and what disclosures are available under the GHG emissions. What's standard disclosures? You know, apart from the sector standards, there are standard disclosures, like generic standard disclosures that has to be considered for each oil and gas, for an oil and gas organization. And these disclosures, you will find them as also materials in the documents I earlier shared with you. Is there. Once you click that link to the consolidated set of GRI standards, you will see the set of disclosures that are relevant to the GHG emissions reporting. I hope you are not confused, but if you are looking at the file as you are also watching this video, you will understand what I mean by that. So there are disclosures such as 302, disclosure 302, disclosure 305, direct scope GHG disclosures are part of the input materials into the GHG emissions reporting. All right. So you have reference materials also in the file that I've shared with you, and you'll be able to study them in depth. I'm just doing a review. You are doing more of the work, than it is I am doing right now. I don't know if my screen is still showing because I can't see it. Excuse me, please. Okay, yes, I can find it. So you have the subtopic under the oil and gas standard, which is GHG emissions. You have another topic called climate adaptation, resilience, and transition. There is also the reporting standard, the disclosure standard for climate adaptation, resilience, and transition. Next to it, you will see the topic air emissions, and you'll see the reporting standards for air emissions. How to report air emissions is there in the file. Biodiversity as well, reporting biodiversity, the disclosures standards that you need to use for reporting biodiversity is also inclusive. Next is waste. The reporting standard for waste is also inclusive in that file. So you have quite a lot of work to do in order to understand what different aspects of reporting is required for the oil and gas sector and how to go about the reporting. So there are references and links which you will need to study so that by the time you are interfacing with the software, you already have a full grasp of what the GRI standard requires and how to input data into the software. So you have water and effluents, reporting procedure, closure and rehabilitation reporting procedure, asset integrity and critical incident management reporting procedure, occupational health and safety, employment practices, non-discrimination and equal opportunity reporting procedure, forced labor and modern slavery. These are the materiality aspects of oil and gas sector standard for the GRI. Freedom of association and collective bargaining, economic impact, local communities, how to report about local communities, and land and resource rights, rights of indigenous peoples, okay, conflict and security reporting, how to report this, the procedure and the standards, the disclosure standards for reporting conflict and security, anti-competitive behavior, anti-corruption, and lastly, I think that's the last subtopic, if not public, public policy. So all of this have its different reporting framework in the consolidated set of the GRI standards. So when you go through it, we would have regular trainings on this so that you have a full grasp of what is required under each. Let me just go find the file again and show you how the document looks like. How do I get there? Okay, let me share screen. Okay, that's it here, over here. Yeah, so you can see the sector profile, and these are the likely material topics, which I have just shown you. And anyone you click on, for instance, I'm very much interested in local communities. You can see what local communities comprises of individuals living or working in areas that are affected or that could be affected by an organization's activities. Then the reporting on local communities. This is management of material topics, disclosure 3, disclosure 413, These are reference documents. Once you click on it, it takes you to the right file to see what precisely the disclosure approach is. So if we go back again to the table of content or the directory, the bookmarks, for instance, we can take the coal and energy sector. Oh no, let's go back to our oil and gas sector under review. All right. So let's take biodiversity. So biodiversity is the variability among living organisms. It includes diversity within species, between species, and of the ecosystem. So oil and gas activities can be a source of pressure on the environment in which they occur and have direct, indirect, and cumulative impacts on biodiversity. So the reporting on biodiversity takes these disclosure standards to manage how is it imputed into the software. So once we're able to develop one for the oil and gas sector, we can duplicate it for almost all the oil and gas sector clients that we have. But first, we will need to understand it and develop precisely what materials are needed to be imputed in it. You can see disclosure 3043, habitats protected or restored, right? Okay, so that's the introduction section for these different sets of GRI standards. Next, I would check on other standards and also do a presentation on it. But for now, kindly study, digest, understand these standards for GRI, and then we meet again to discuss in our regular meetings. We are going to be meeting with the technical department for me to assess your level of understanding and your level of implementing this assignment. Please go through it, understand it, and let us have a meeting to be able to confirm your understanding or take questions or brainstorm further about it. All right. So thank you for your attention, and I'm looking forward to us having a more robust discussion, intellectual discussion about the GRI standard. Do take care. Bye.